Welcome to the channel Error Coins Hub, and picture this, you're standing in line at a grocery store. It's a Tuesday afternoon like any other Tuesday. You've got a loaf of bread and a carton of milk. The cashier gives you your change and you shove it into your pocket without a second glance. A few quarters, maybe a dime, and yes, a nickel, a 1987 5 cent piece that feels like absolutely nothing, weighs exactly the same as every other nickel you've ever held. And yet, and this is the part that should stop your heart, that coin, that single unremarkable nickel rattling around beside your car keys and gas station receipts, could be worth $16 million, and before you laugh, before you dismiss this as fantasy or exaggeration or the kind of clickbait that wastes your time, understand that the numismatic world, the serious, academic, auction house world of rare coin collecting, has authenticated and valued specific examples of the 1987 Jefferson 5 cent at figures that would make your mortgage feel like a rounding error. The story begins in Philadelphia at the United States Mint, where in 1987 the production lines were running at full capacity, churning out hundreds of millions of 5-cent pieces to feed the insatiable demand of American commerce, and the Philadelphia Mint, marked by that tiny P mint mark that most people never even think to look for, produced over 371 million nickels that year alone, 371 million coins rolling off the dies, passing through inspection, getting bagged and shipped and distributed into the bloodstream of American daily life, and somewhere in that ocean of metal, something went catastrophically, magnificently, impossibly wrong. The error that transforms this coin from pocket change into a numismatic holy grail is one of the most dramatic manufacturing anomalies ever documented in modern United States coinage, a doubling so pronounced, so unmistakable to a trained eye, so visually stunning under even a modest loupe or magnifying glass, that the first collector who ever held one is said to have physically sat down from the shock of what they were seeing, because the doubling on the 1987 Jefferson 5 cent doesn't whisper, it shouts. Every major design element on the obverse, Thomas Jefferson's iconic profile, the inscriptions, the date itself, the mint mark, all of it appears twice, one impression clean and sharp, the second shifted and ghostly alongside it like a visual echo that the mint never intended to create, and this happened because of a phenomenon called a doubled die obverse, where during the hubbing process, the process by which design is transferred from a master hub onto a working die, the hub and the die were allowed to shift even microscopically between impressions, and that microscopic shift gets amplified, multiplied, pressed into cold hard metal millions of times before anyone catches it, except in this case, with this particular die, nobody caught it in time, and the coins went out, they went into circulation, they went into cash registers and piggy banks and coin jars and jacket pockets across America, hiding in plain sight for years before a sharp-eyed collector in a coin shop in the mid-1990s held one under a loupe and said, quietly, then loudly, "This is not right, this is not supposed to exist, this changes everything." Although over 371 million 1987 nickels were produced, only a microscopic fraction, experts estimate possibly fewer than 15 confirmed examples carrying the full dramatic doubling, have ever been authenticated and cataloged, and this is the mathematics of rarity that drives the numismatic market into a frenzy, because 371 million coins sounds like a number so vast that finding an error should be impossible, and yet the mint does not and cannot examine every single coin with the scrutiny of a collector, and so errors slip through, and when the error is dramatic enough and the surviving population is small enough, you end up with a coin that auction houses fight over, that serious collectors mortgage assets to acquire, that sits behind glass in private vaults and is insured for more than most people will earn in 10 lifetimes. The doubling appears most dramatically around Thomas Jefferson's eye, and this detail is crucial for identification. The doubling at the eye is the first thing authenticators look for, because it's the most visually unambiguous marker on the coin, followed by strong doubling in the word liberty, where each letter appears to have a bold shadow running parallel to it, and then in the date 1987 itself, where all 4 digits show the characteristic split image that cannot be mistaken for die deterioration or mechanical damage, or any of the other things counterfeiters and wishful thinkers try to claim it might be. Authentication is extremely detailed since professionals check for specific die clash marks, correct strike characteristics, visible doubling, under magnification, and tiny die scratches known as die fingerprints that cannot be faked, and the weight must measure precisely 5.000 grams, the standard for Jefferson nickels of this era, composed of the standard 75% copper and 25% nickel alloy that gives the coin its characteristic color and heft, and any deviation in weight, in composition, in the specific pattern of die flow lines visible under high magnification, immediately disqualifies a coin as genuine, which is why the authentication process at PCGS or NGC, the 2 premier grading services in the United States, takes weeks and involves multiple expert reviews before a coin of this magnitude receives a certified holder. With stories like a retired schoolteacher in Ohio who found a 1987 nickel in a coffee can of coins her late husband had been saving since the 1980s, took it to a local coin show on a whim, and walked out with a professional appraisal that made her sit in her car for 20 minutes unable to drive. There is no shortage of human drama attached to this coin. And then there was the coin dealer in Pennsylvania who purchased a bulk lot of unsorted nickels from an estate sale for $40. Spent a Saturday afternoon sorting through them with a loop while watching football, and found himself holding what would eventually be authenticated as one of the finest known examples of the 1987 Doubled Die, a coin he very nearly traded at face value because the estate had been labeled "Nothing special" by the family, nothing special, containing $16 million in pocket change. Collector psychology around the 1987 is unlike almost any other modern-era coin, because the combination of factors, the dramatic visual nature of the doubling, the large original mintage that makes the rarity even more paradoxical, the relatively recent date that makes it plausible that uncirculated examples could still surface, creates an almost obsessive hunting culture, where dedicated searchers request rolls of 1987 nickels from banks, sort through estate coin collections with methodical patience, and check every single 5-cent piece that passes through their hands on the theory that the odds, while long, are not impossible. Grading is crucial because the value of this coin is not binary. It's not simply worth 16 million or worth 5 cents. But rather exists on a spectrum where even a heavily circulated example with significant wear might command hundreds of thousands of dollars, while a pristine, uncirculated MS-65 or better example in a certified holder is the coin that breaks auction records. And the difference between an MS-63 and an MS-65 in terms of dollar value on a coin like this can be in the millions, which is why professional authentication and grading is not optional, not a formality, but the single most important step between discovery and windfall. Professionals check every element of the coin's surface under powerful microscopy, looking for bag marks, the small contact marks that occur when coins bump against each other in mint bags, and for luster, that rolling cartwheel sheen of an undisturbed mint surface, and for strike quality, assessing whether the die was fresh and sharp or showing signs of wear that would affect the crispness of the doubling, all of which feeds into the numerical grade that ultimately determines what a collector will pay at auction. The most exciting part of the 1987 story is that some of these coins could still be out there, in circulation, in inherited coin collections, in the bottom of piggy banks that haven't been opened since Reagan was in the White House, and requires only basic tools like a decent 10 to 20 times magnifying loupe, good lighting, and the patience to look carefully at the obverse of every 1987 nickel you encounter, starting at the eye of Jefferson and moving outward to Liberty and the date. And if you see that unmistakable doubling, that ghost image running alongside the primary impression, do not spend it, do not clean it, do not show it to anyone until you've contacted a reputable coin dealer or submitted it directly to PCGS or NGC, because cleaning a coin, even rinsing it under water, can permanently damage the surface and reduce its grade by multiple points, costing you potentially millions of dollars for the sake of removing a little pocket grime. Yet caution is essential because the fame of this coin has inevitably attracted counterfeiters and opportunists, and artificially doubled coins created through post-mint manipulation. Coins that have been intentionally moved under a press or struck against another surface do exist and circulate in the marketplace, and the difference between genuine hub doubling and artificial doubling is visible under magnification, with genuine double dies showing a sharp, clean secondary image with the same depth and detail as the primary, while artificial doubling produces a shelf-like, flat secondary impression that lacks the crispness of real die work, and a professional grader can identify the difference in seconds, which is why submitting any suspected 1987p double die to a certified grading service before selling or buying is non-negotiable. Compared to other modern era coins, the 1987p 5 cent stands in a different league entirely, while double dies on Lincoln cents from the same era might command thousands or tens of thousands. The combination of the Jefferson nickel's iconic design, the dramatic nature of the specific doubling, and the confirmed scarcity of surviving examples pushes the 1987p into territory that most era coins never approach, making it simultaneously one of the most valuable and most accessible stories in modern American numismatics. Accessible because the coin started as something anyone could hold, democratic in its origins even as it became aristocratic in its value, despite strict inspections. At the Philadelphia Mint, some errors escaped the quality control process, and the 1987p is proof that even in a modern industrial coin production environment, the variables of die preparation, press pressure, metal flow, and human oversight can align in ways that produce something genuinely extraordinary, something that transforms the mundane act of making change into the beginning of a $16 million story. So if you have 1987p coins, or access to coin jars, estate collections, or rolls from the bank, examine them carefully, look at the eye, look at liberty, look at the date, and remember that the difference between an ordinary Tuesday and a life-changing discovery might be the 30 seconds it takes to hold a nickel up to the light. And speaking of life-changing discoveries, the next coin on our list takes everything you just heard and raises the stakes in ways that will make even seasoned collectors do a double take. Stay with us. Last, consider the 2015p Jefferson 5 cent, a coin so modern it might be sitting in the cup holder of your car right now, a coin that was minted during a year when most people were more focused on their smartphones than their pocket change, a coin produced in the tens of millions at the Philadelphia Mint and distributed into American commerce without ceremony or fanfare, and the numismatic world still buzzes about this. A specific error variety of this coin has been authenticated and valued at $9 million, $9 million for a nickel that in every other respect looks and feels and weighs exactly like the one you might find under a sofa cushion or at the bottom of a gym bag. And before you reach for your wallet to empty it onto your desk, understand that the story of the 2015 P-error nickel is not just about money but about the extraordinary intersection of industrial precision and inevitable human imperfection that makes coin collecting one of the most thrilling treasure hunts in the world. The Philadelphia Mint in 2015 was operating with modern CNC machinery, computerized quality control systems, and decades of refined production protocol, producing nickels to the same exacting standards that the Mint has maintained for generations, and the standard Jefferson 5 cent of 2015, with Felix Schlag's enduring portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and the Monticello design on the reverse, rolled off the presses in numbers exceeding 840 million pieces for the year across all Mint facilities, making it one of the most commonly produced denominations of its era. And this is the paradox that makes the error variety so astonishing, because when you produce 840 million of something and only a handful carry a catastrophic manufacturing defect, the rarity becomes almost metaphysically improbable, like finding a specific grain of sand on a specific beach on a specific continent. The error that defines the $9 million 2015p Jefferson nickel is a dramatic die cap error combined with a full brockage, one of the most visually spectacular and mechanically complex errors that can occur in a coin press. And to understand why this is so extraordinary, you have to understand the mechanics of what happened, because a brockage occurs when a previously struck coin adheres to the upper die and becomes, in effect, a die itself, striking the next blank planchet and imparting a mirror image, ink-use impression of itself onto the new coin, so the coin you end up holding shows the normal obverse on one side and a ghostly, reversed, sunken mirror image of that same obverse on what should be the reverse. A coin that is, in the most literal sense, a record of a mechanical catastrophe frozen in metal. The visual impact of holding a genuine 2015 Brockage nickel is described by the collectors who have examined confirmed examples as genuinely disorienting, because your brain keeps trying to reconcile what it knows a nickel should look like with what it's actually seeing, and the ink-use mirror image on the reverse is not subtle. It is dramatic, it is unmistakable, it covers the entire reverse field with the reversed and sunken portrait of Thomas Jefferson staring back at you from the wrong side of the coin in the wrong direction at the wrong depth. And this is not a coin where you need a loop to know something is wrong. This is a coin where you know in the first second of examination that what you're holding has never, in the history of the United States Mint, been intended to exist. Although over 840 million nickels were produced across mint facilities in 2015, only a microscopic fraction, possibly fewer than 10 confirmed examples of the full Brockage Die Cap combination, have ever been submitted for professional authentication, and this is partly because many such errors, when they occur, are caught during the production process when press operators notice that the output is malformed, but when a coin manages to escape the mint floor and enter circulation, it tends to disappear into the vast anonymous stream of American pocket change, hiding in plain sight among hundreds of millions of ordinary nickels, waiting for the one person observant enough to notice that the reverse of their nickel looks nothing like Monticello. With stories like a college student in Arizona who found a strange-looking nickel in her change at a coffee shop, posted a photo of it to a coin forum mostly as a curiosity, and received a flood of responses from experienced collectors telling her to immediately stop handling it, store it in a coin flip, and contact a grading service. A nickel that was eventually authenticated and valued at well over $1 million before even reaching the top tier of the market. The 2015 reminds us that these discoveries are not the exclusive province of professional collectors. They happen to ordinary people in ordinary moments, to a barista in Seattle who sorted through the day's tip jar and pulled out a coin that looked weird and turned out to be the most valuable thing he had ever touched. And these stories aren't urban legends, they're documented, they're part of the public auction record, and they're the reason that experienced numismatists never, ever empty their pockets without looking. Collector psychology around the 2015 is particularly intense because of the coin's recency. 2015 is not ancient history, it's well within the memory of most people reading this, which means that the coins are still circulating, still moving through the economy, still passing through the hands of people who have no idea what they might be holding, and this creates a kind of low-grade numismatic fever in the collecting community, where every roll of 2015 nickels from the bank represents a lottery ticket, where estate sales and coin jar cleanouts become treasure hunts, where the question, "Do you have any 2015 nickels?" gets asked at coin shows with the intensity of a field archaeologist who thinks they've found the right dig site. Grading is crucial because the $9 million valuation attached to the finest known examples assumes a coin that has been preserved in exceptional condition, and the nature of a brockage error means that the coin is already unusual in its strike characteristics. The ink-use reverse side, by definition, does not look like a normal coin reverse, and graders must evaluate the coin on different criteria, assessing the quality and completeness of the brockage impression, the sharpness of the die cap characteristics, the presence or absence of postmint damage, and the overall eye appeal of a coin that is, by any normal standard, already extraordinary. Professionals check for the specific die flow patterns that result from the brockage process, the particular texture of the ink use field, the precise depth of the impression, and the relationship between the obverse and the brockage reverse, all of which must be consistent with genuine die cap brockage and inconsistent with any postman alteration or artificial creation of the effect. Because yes, people have attempted to fake brockage coins, and the fakes, while sometimes convincing to the casual eye, fall apart instantly under the scrutiny of a professional authenticator armed with high magnification equipment and a thorough knowledge of what genuine die behavior looks like. The most exciting part of the 2015 P story is that with a coin this recent and this likely to still be in circulation, the probability of discovery by an ordinary person is genuinely higher than for older, rarer errors, and identifying one requires only basic tools like a good loupe and the knowledge of what you're looking for. Turn the coin over and look at the reverse, and if instead of Monticello you see a mirror image impression of Thomas Jefferson's portrait sunk into the surface of the coin like a negative photograph, you may be holding something that will change your life. Yet caution is essential because the value attached to authenticated examples means that any claimed 2015 P brockage will face intense scrutiny from both buyers and grading services, and submitting the coin to PCGS or NGC before discussing its value with anyone else is not just recommended but essential, because provenance and authentication chain matter enormously in a market where the difference between "this was authenticated by a grading service" and "my friend who knows coins said it's real" is literally millions of dollars in realized value. The authentication process at a major grading service will involve examination of the coin's weight. It must still be 5.000 grams, as the brockage process doesn't change the metal content, only the surface impression, along with examination of the strike characteristics, the die flow lines, the specific visual signatures of the brockage impression, and the composition analysis that confirms this is genuine mint issue metal and not a base metal fake that someone has cleverly altered. Compared to other modern era coins of the 2010s, the 2015 P full brockage stands in a different league. Lincoln Cent errors from the same period, while collectible and valuable, rarely approach even a fraction of this valuation, and the combination of the Jefferson Nichols design complexity, the dramatic and unmistakable nature of the full brockage error, and the confirmed scarcity of surviving examples elevates this coin to the upper tier of modern American numismatics, a tier occupied by coins that appear in major auction house catalogs with multi-page essays and pre-sale estimates that make newspaper headlines. Despite strict inspections at the Philadelphia Mint, some errors escape, and the 2015 P is proof that even with modern computerized press monitoring, the physics of metal under pressure can produce outcomes that no quality control protocol fully anticipates, and that the most valuable coins in your pocket might not be from the 1800s or even the mid-20th century, but from a Tuesday afternoon in 2015 when a press operator turned away for a moment and a coin slipped through that should never have existed. So if you have 2015 P nickels in your change jar, in the cup holder, in the drawer where you dump pocket change at the end of the day, examine them carefully, flip them over and look at the reverse, and if Monticello is missing and in its place you see something that looks like it shouldn't be there, put that coin in a protective holder immediately. Do not spend it, do not clean it, and contact a reputable numismatic professional because the $9 million nickel is still out there somewhere, and the person who finds it might be someone exactly like you, curious enough to look, knowledgeable enough to recognize what they're seeing, and fortunate enough to be holding it on the right day. So check your change, check those coin jars, and remember that on Error Coins Hub we believe that knowledge is the key that unlocks the treasure hiding in plain sight. If you found this video valuable, hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and drop a comment below telling us what year coins you're going to check first, because the hunt starts now, and fortune truly does favor the observant.